Now, it's a very exciting day because today is my birthday! I mean, it's not. We're filming this a fortnight in advance, but it will be when this video goes live.
I'm still recovering from the very long everyone.
Hi everyone! I also, before we start, would like to apologise because I've been filming a lot of videos in advance because I'm going away on holiday just after my birthday, so I dyed my hair this week, so it's dark. But in next week's video, that was filmed before I dyed my hair, so you know, we're gonna flip-flop around with the colour of it is what I'm saying, and continuity? Who needs continuity?
Nerds.
So what we thought we would do for my 40th birthday is hold a bowl. Please sir, I want some more life. You may recall that quite some time ago, I think it was last January, I am a good friend, we celebrated my friend Kirsty's 40th birthday by doing a video where we asked each other 40 questions. So, they were very sensible questions on the whole. There was some random ones in there, but I've gone mostly insane. So what we're going to do is take it in turns to pick out one of my weird questions.
Okay.
And ask each other them. And yeah, that's how this will work.
If you could go forward in time and find out one important piece of information to give to humanity, what would it be?
I think I would find out what they were doing about climate change, if anything. If they were saving the actual planet from burning to death.
That would be handy.
And
to
I'd
not
find
do
out
that.
what they were doing, come back and tell everybody, hey, this is what you should be doing. And then knowing the world that we live in, no one would listen to me. We'd all die anyway. If you could have an extra eye somewhere on your body for use in emergencies, where would you choose to have the extra eye?
I mean, I guess the back of the head, because you've already got the front covered. So I feel like if anything's gonna sneak up on you, it's at the back. The only trouble is like the hair issue.
I was thinking the back of the heel, so that if you lost something under a sofa or wherever, before you had to bend down, you could just be like, oh, yeah, there it is.
There's two very different scenarios.
Yeah.
Is there a conspiracy theory that you secretly think could be true?
At the risk of being locked in the tower, I could be persuaded that Princess Diana was murdered. But I am also, as you all are aware, this isn't really a conspiracy theory, it's fact. I am also quite convinced Kurt Cobain was murdered. So, make of that what you will. How long could you endure being trapped in a room with Boris Johnson?
I mean, I have questions about the size of the room. Is there anything else in the room? I mean, I think I'm pretty good at tuning stuff out. So I think I could probably do a couple of hours.
I just
quite well.
The rage would set
Yeah. I don't have the energy. I just go to sleep
in. Yeah.
and let him roar in the corner.
Brexit.
If you could have saved one type of dinosaur from extinction, so we still had them today, which would you save and why?
The Diplodocus, because it's fun to say, but also very tall, very useful. Like, you know, if you could have a pet Diplodocus and you were like, oh, I just can't get this off this shelf. So you're like, Dino, stick your head through the window, love. And he'd be like, whoa. If money grew on trees, do you think society would be better or worse as a result?
I think it would be better. But I do wonder, like, would it be a yearly money harvest? Would it be there all year round?
I'm assuming you would grow it and then there would be a point at which everyone comes and harvests their money.
I feel like if it was like that, then maybe money would start to, like, not mean anything. And we'd just, I don't know, maybe we'd start using apples as currency instead.
I was feeling quite negative when I wrote that, and I was like, well, what you would get is all the rich people would have a forest of trees, and all the rest of us would have like one small bush in our garden. And we'd be like, ooh, please can I climb your tree? You'd have scrumping, but for £50 notes.
Theft, then. Would you rather be able to see through walls or read people's minds?
Definitely see through walls, I think, because I think there are some things people don't say for good reasons.
Yeah.
and I wouldn't necessarily want to know what everyone was thinking all the time. Isn't there a film where somebody can read minds and it gets really dark very quickly?
That's a bit of a trope, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it drives people insane
Yeah.
to kind of know what other people are thinking.
So see through walls, and I would not use it in a perverted way. In a perverted way. I would just, like, oh, damn.
And where did I leave my
That's
such
exactly.
and such?
Where did I put my phone? I can't be bothered to go upstairs. I'll just look through the floor.
What's in the fridge?
Yeah,
Save energy by not having to open the door to look in the fridge.
there you go. If you had to have a celebrity follow you around for 24 hours, constantly narrating everything you did, which celebrity would you choose?
Ooh, Kathy Burke.
Oh, that would be a good choice.
That's fine.
That's a really well-known brand.
Yeah.
Where's that from? I don't know that one, Saratov.
No, it's from the pan shop.
I just think she'd be really fun. If you could invent an extra day of the week, what would you call it? And where in the week would it fall?
I would call it Mids Day, and it would be the middle of the weekend between Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Because Saturday is the day of the weekend, everybody quite often makes plans. Like, we were in a recording studio laying down some tracks earlier, as you do. Sunday is quite often the day of rest,
Yeah.
where you chill out. So you kind of want a day in between, so your weekend's longer, because I think it would be nice to have a 3-day weekend every weekend. Your mids day would be like half chill, half plan. Would it be more problematic to hysterically cry every time you were happy, or hysterically laugh every time you were sad?
I think it's probably better to cry when you're happy than laugh when you're sad.
I'm just imagining a funeral where
Yeah, it's like if you start crying tears of joy, that's kind of like, oh, people are like, oh, that's very sweet.
Yeah.
But if you do start laughing at sad stuff, people are like, you weirdo. Would you rather do farts that smell lovely but are always incredibly loud, or which are always silent but incredibly violent?
It was getting late when I wrote that one.
Wow.
It's a difficult one because
This truly is the question of the age, isn't it?
the situation would be very much what would answer that question. Because if you were, again, at a funeral, it would be pretty embarrassing if you just suddenly went but then everyone went, oh, lovely. I think on the whole, loud but lovely. Because
I feel like that would perturb other people less.
yeah, you're not going to be walking past people and everyone goes,
Sometimes maybe you can make a covering noise.
yeah. By my own question, I don't know how loud is incredibly loud.
Like a foghorn.
If you were offered the chance to find out when and how you're going to die, would you take it?
No.
No, that's easy. I wouldn't either.
No. What good is it going to do you? You either spend all of your time trying to avoid it happening or worrying that it's going to happen.
Oh, it's getting closer. It's getting closer.
Yeah.
Live for the moment.
Who would be the worst person to be stuck in a lift with?
The person that does silent but violent farts. I mean, probably someone like Marc Francois.
Oh.
Somebody very gobby and opinionated and extremely right-wing. I would be getting out the top of that lift and cutting the wires. I'll take one for the team. If you could have £1 million, but you had to wear the money as a dress until you spent it all and were eventually naked in public, would you still take the cash?
Yeah. I mean, I could spend it on plastic surgery.
You don't need it.
I think I mean, how do you have to be naked forever, or just like?
I don't think so. I think you have to be naked until the last pound note is gone.
Okay, so you just get more and more naked.
Yeah.
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Like you could leave some strategic cash
Yeah,
and then just spend
bit
that on
Adam
an
and Eve
outfit.
it. Yeah, yeah.
What's the most slapstick thing you've ever done?
Been born. My entire life is slapstick. I mean, you've probably got a better answer for
I mean,
this
I
for
was just
me.
thinking about, oh no, my ass.
So Leslie and I went for a walk together once, and I walked across a verge thinking, I'll just cut this walk slightly shorter by going.
And a car was
Yeah,
coming,
so I was trying to, get out the way, and it was a bit muddy, and I slipped, and I landed on my bum and just went, oh no, my ass! It's still, as you can see, something that we quote.
Well, the thing is, I was looking at the car and like, I must observe the vehicle and be out of its way. And then when I turned back, you were not there. You were on the ground.
Yeah, and I was deeply concerned about my ass.
You just sounded so worried about it.
My other thing that I always remember is when I was about 10, I was playing with my cousins in my uncle's back garden, and my grandparents were in the sort of back room, and they had a glass door. That's the international side. Somebody had said something or whatever, and I was like, oh, I'll go and tell everyone. And I was like, I won't be long, because I was the oldest, and I wanted my cousins and my sister to not worry about my absence. So I legged it and just ran full pelt, poof, at the closed glass door. Would you rather have to speak all of your thoughts aloud, or lose the ability to talk at all unless you spoke constantly in rhyming couplets?
I think rhyming couplets would be fun.
Yeah, we've covered the whole.
Yeah, there's things in my brain that the world doesn't need to know about. Whose day wouldn't be brightened up by just a little rhyming couplet? Do you want a cup of tea? I was making one for me.
Yes, I think I do. I'd like a sugar, maybe two. I don't take sugar.
Would you rather it literally rained cats and dogs, or that cats and dogs were made out of rain?
You see, I always think of the cats and the dogs, because if they literally...
Would they get hurt?
They would get hurt
Yeah.
if they fell from the sky. And so I wouldn't want it to. But then if they were made of rain, they would be washed away and they dry. If you were president of the world, what one thing would you make illegal?
I'm only allowed one thing.
You've got to make one thing illegal.
I'm going to word this carefully. I would make it illegal for profit to be made on essential services.
So a bit like
Water,
privatisation.
electricity, healthcare, internet. Companies could run them, and they could run them sustainably, but they wouldn't be allowed to make a profit. If you could become famous overnight for something, what would it be?
Can you be famous for just being a really nice person?
I mean, I just,
I've
being
been-
myself.
I think I'd like to be famous for just being known to be being a decent kind of human. This is not me being faux humble. I don't think I'm talented enough at anything to have myself become famous because of that. It would be great to be famous as a YouTuber. It would be great to be famous because I sing well or because I've written something really good. But I think none of those things mean as much to me as just being a decent human being, particularly in the current day and age when many people choose not to be.
Yeah.
That's a boring answer, but it's true, I'm sorry. Which Disney villain do you reckon you could beat in a battle?
I'm gonna have to mentally go through every Disney film now that I've ever seen. Say, for example, I was like, I will fight Gaston. Am I allowed to, take a machine gun?
I mean, Gaston deserves it.
Do I have to exist within the world of the film? Or can I just, turn up and,
If you want a machine gun, Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
A lot of them have magic powers.
Yes.
Which is a problem.
And then some of them are animals, which could be
Yeah,
difficult.
I would not fight a lion.
I'm surrounded by idiots.
I don't think I'd win. I mean, I could probably beat up Iago from Aladdin, because that's a parrot.
Is Iago really a baddie, or has he just been turned to the bad side by Jafar?
I think he just is acting in his own self-interest. He goes where the power is.
Yeah.
And in a way, doesn't that make him the worst? You didn't think this would be the stumper, did you?
No, because I decided last night when I was writing, because some of them I was like, don't think about it, but some of them I answered in my head. And that one, I decided could be a battle of wills.
Okay.
And I would choose Cinderella's wicked stepmother, because basically her only power is cunning and manipulation.
Right.
And I think I could outmaneuver her.
I think I could probably beat up Cruella de Vil, because she's, quite skinny. I think she'd snap like a twig.
Absolutely.
Or I'd machine gun Gaston. If you had to live in a cartoon, which cartoon would you choose?
I'm gonna say that I would probably live in Frozen because I do quite like the snow. I quite like the fashions. And I think I'd probably get on really well with Anna because she's probably the Disney princess I relate most closely to. What would be worse? Having thumbs the size of your head or a head the size of a thumb?
I think head the size of a thumb would be worse.
So
You could become like thumb wrestling world champion. Would you rather have hair that never dried or that never got wet no matter how long you spent in the shower?
hair that never dried because this needs to get wet in the mornings, otherwise it is a frizzy, tangled mess. Would you rather be able to smell all things at all times or never be able to taste anything?
I mean, I think if you could smell everything all the time, you would just feel really sick and you wouldn't eat anyway, so you're probably better off not tasting stuff. Much as I like to eat food. Would you rather have your browsing history made public or go without the internet for a month?
I'd probably go without the internet because I think that would be good for me. Like to go...
A detox.
I think most people could do with like a break from the internet. I don't search for anything particularly dodgy, genuinely, but I mean, I am the sort of person, you know this about me, who if I have to search for something strange, I will put my phone on incognito mode just because I don't want my Google history. I don't want to. We are trying to solve a murder mystery book called Kane's Jawbone at the moment. And so sometimes if I didn't put it on an incognito mode, my Google history is like, can you murder someone with a plant? So yeah, I think I'd probably prefer to just go without for a bit. If you could take any modern item back in time 200 years and claim to have invented it, but it wasn't allowed to be a laptop or a smartphone, what would you take and why?
I feel like I'd take back some kind of medicine or something, like an antibiotic. How about this that will prevent many unnecessary deaths? What would you rather possess in enormous quantities? Emotional intelligence or academic intelligence? I mean, does possessing enormous amounts of one mean that you don't have any of the other, or just an average amount?
I think you have an average amount of one.
Okay.
But like a huge amount of the other. I'm gonna say, like the woke social justice warrior I am, emotional intelligence. Because yes, it would be amazing to be very academically intelligent and know stuff. And you could then help benefit the world. Like if I was hugely academically intelligent, I might stumble upon a cure for cancer or something. But there are other people with a lot of that. If I had a huge amount of emotional intelligence, I could hopefully not only be a nice person, but show other people how to be. And I don't want to get too heavy here, but I think we need more of that in today's world. So I think I'd rather possess a lot of emotional intelligence.
I think you have lots of emotional intelligence.
I like to think so. If you could live inside a song, what song would it be?
You know, I love noises.
Bloopy bloops.
I love noises in a song. So I'd pick a song that has a lot of very satisfying noises in it, and it's a song called Video, and it's by Jeff Lynne, but it has a lot of excellent noises, and it's a fun song.
I mean, I told you, I think only last week, that if I was suicidally depressed and someone put on Billy Joel's Uptown Girl, I would step away from the ledge. So I think I would live inside, that sounds weird, I'd live inside Uptown Girl.
I'm gonna try for an uptown girl. She's been living in her white bread world as long as anyone with hot blood can. And now she's looking for a downtown man. That's what I am.
Would you be like constantly recreating the music video? Or-
Yes!
Okay. What subject would you like to make mandatory in schools if you have the power to?
Empathy. I would make damn sure that we were teaching everybody, do you know what? Doesn't matter what you look like, doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is, doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are or lack thereof, everyone needs to be treated with respect, and just don't come out of school and be
I think I'd say critical thought.
Oh, another very good one. What would cause you more problems? Your legs doubling in length or your arms doubling in length?
I mean, if my legs doubled in length, I would need to get all new trousers. Whereas my t-shirts, if my arms doubled in length, would still be okay.
Yeah.
If you have really long arms, they'd be like on the ground. I feel like long arms would probably cause more problems than long legs overall. Would you rather have hands made of ham or toes made of tofu?
Ham is more solid, I would have thought. I'm assuming you wouldn't necessarily have fingers. Would you literally have a joint of ham as a hand?
I was picturing like your hand, but ham.
Oh, okay. Well, in that
But-
case, I would have a ham hand because a tofu toe would probably crumble. You looked so disappointed in me when you read that. Would you rather be able to fly or have the power of invisibility?
I think fly feels like it's got more practical applications. What do you think would be the most painful body part to accidentally slam in a car door?
My boob.
Oh, that would be.
I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, that would be strange.
But nips are sensitive. Is there a part of your body that you cannot stand being touched?
I do not like belly button touch.
Same.
If something is in my belly button, it feels like it's like in my intestines, and I
Yeah.
can feel myself like.
Yeah.
No,
No,
that's.
I'm exactly the same. To the point that, like, you know, when you have to wash your belly button in the
Oh,
shower.
you.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I never knew that. Oh, it's so the same.
And eyeballs, that's why
Yeah.
I refuse contact lenses. Would you rather cry antibacterial hand gel or pee petrol?
Oh, Emma.
Slightly worried about you.
I mean, both are really useful.
Mm.
Both sound blooming painful. You'd make more savings if you could pee petrol.
Yeah, with the economy.
And siphon, you know, just pour that into your tank.
Yeah.
Empty your tank, put it in your car's tank. During the height of the pandemic, crying antibacterial hand gel would have been equally useful. But I think I'd go with the pee petrol.
Yeah, the idea of like alcohol in the eyeball is unpleasant.
I mean, I'm not saying that petroleum
Yeah.
down there would be fun.
No.
But, you know, if it saves me money on filling the car up. If you woke up tomorrow and all of the moles on your body were gone, how long do you think it would take you to notice?
I think I would notice within the day, but it would probably take me a few hours.
See, I think I'm very moly. And I have a big mole on my face.
Yeah.
And I think I would notice if that was gone very quick. Where's my mole?
If you could record a #1 single, but it had to be a duet with one of the Muppets, which Muppet would you choose and what song would you cover?
Okay, we're going to go deep. When I was really horrendously bullied at school, they used to call me Gonzo because of this. So I would make a point of reclaiming it and I would duet with Gonzo. And just to really ram it home, we would do Ugly by the Sugar Babes.
And if I'm ugly, then so are you, so are you.
And it would just cure me of all my hang-ups. Maybe that's what I'm famous for overnight. My
the Gonzo duet.
incredibly brilliant duet with Gonzo. If there was a scented candle created especially for you, what would it smell of?
What kind of falls into like the oceany smells? Maybe something fruity, not into like vanilla-y, spicy stuff. Something really fresh.
I think I would go for like fresh apple or something.
Yeah, something light. What would be the worst thing to get in a Kinder Surprise?
A disembodied thumb.
That would be bad.
Is it just me? I mean, you're a child of the 80s as well.
Yeah.
Do you remember a time when you just constantly read about like somebody buying a tin of sweet corn or something and they opened it and there was like a hand in there or a bird?
I mean, no.
I swear, when I was younger,
Not constantly, anyway.
it felt like there were a lot of stories about like, I bought this tin of hot dogs and when I opened it, there was a human foot or something like that.
Where were you reading these news stories?
I don't know. Are you ready for the final one?
Ba-ba-da-ba.
If you had to perform a sensual dance on Strictly Come Dancing with one of the Teletubbies, which Teletubby would you choose?
Lala's my favourite Teletubby, but I think I would dance with Dipsy. I feel like Dipsy would be a good dancer.
Dipsy's a good mover, I reckon.
And then Nunu comes on at the end and hoovers up all the confetti.
Well, I feel like we know each other so much better now.
I mean, I have a lot of questions about your questions.
I look forward to your 40th when you write 40 questions. Well, please do feel free to suggest extra questions in the comments and maybe we will do a follow-up video.
Or answer some of these.
Yeah, I'll answer some of these because I want to know how your minds work.
Tell us your take on the tofu toe.
If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. You can click on my floaty head, which will be somewhere around here. If you'd like to subscribe, last week's video will be in the middle of us. I'm gonna go. I'll speak to you all soon. Bye!